So the level of our conversations determine often the level of our strategy. So in this video, when you're as a C-level team coming together and working on strategy together, having weekly meetings, I want to show how you can increase the effectiveness of your strategy. So that means getting to the core of the issue, formulating core strategies that can work, and having less discussions as a team, saving energy and really formulating better strategies that would work in reality and would get you better results. And I know this is a little bit abstract, but dive in with me in this video and I'll be sharing with you the concept of shuv from Kabbalah. I'll explain you what it means, and I'll also explain you what the circle of competence and incompetence from Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, and how these two can fit together. And that's, of course, our signature merging leadership and Kabbalah. Now let's unpack it a little bit. When you're in a leadership meeting and you're talking with the CMO, CEO, it's very important as a leader to have the balance between confidence and humility. So when you have confidence, you know what your areas of strength are, what your expertise are. When you have humility, you can also say, listen, I don't know this area. So I might be the marketeer, but my strength is not in branding. I might be the CFO, but my strength is not so much in evaluating companies. I might be the chief technology officer, but this technology is outside of my scope of competence. Now, often what you see is when the leadership team doesn't have clarity on the level of, or let's say the circle of competence and the circle of incompetence, then in your team you will start having expert discussions, while in reality, and exactly this is what's happening, in reality we should perhaps be silent. So we're talking about things that are outside of our level of competence. And when we establish this as a framework, or in our meetings that we say as a leader, listen, we should reflect. We should know what our circle of competence is. We should also know what our circle of incompetence is. Then you get more space in a meeting, because people will start to say, hey, actually, I don't have anything worthwhile to say about this topic, about this strategy. This is my circle of competence. Here I can talk about, here can I advise. And that helps to refrain people from speaking when perhaps they should not be speaking. And it happens to all of us that we sometimes are advising and speaking in areas which we are less competent. So the concept here of the circle of incompetence gives clarity when we should be speaking, when we should be advising, what role should we be taking, and also what is our area that we can use to formulate a strategy with the other teams. And perhaps sometimes when we need to buy or get external advice when we're outside of our circle of competence. Now, if we look to the term shuv, that means if you zoom out and you look from a third eye perspective on your meetings, then you will see that how the meeting will be structured, who talks in what sequence, what the topics are, that there are a certain way of habits, the way we do things, the pattern we do things. Now, if you want to increase the effectiveness, then there is in Kabbalah shuv, and ratso means running and shuv means returning. So that means we should elevate our discussions, look at our discussions and take them to a higher psychological level. So when we start reflecting on our strengths, when we start reflecting on our competence and our incompetence, we get on a higher level, we get psychological strength. This is what we're good at, this is what we aren't good at. So we are elevating our psychological strength. And this is and people who are working with Kabbalah, with ratso and shuv, you can see that this is an intervention at the level of yetzirah. This is an intervention at the level of the ego, strengthening the ego, humility of the ego. So this is not really high spirituality, but it's like elevating from your reality and connecting to yourself, to your competence, to your incompetence. And that awakens a certain sense of power. And from this power, when you then return to your meetings and return to your meetings on the C level, you see that there's a certain strength. You see people will stay to their competence, will stay to their level of incompetence, and you see meetings will we go more effective, but this takes, of course, time to train it into the habits of the team. And I've been working with quite some international teams, also from multinationals here in the Netherlands that operate globally. And I've been working with this and showing if you take these tools in your team, then you have a reflection tool. Then you have language for the team to talk about, and then it's easier to get these concepts in your habits. Otherwise, as a director, you have to say constantly, yeah, who is speaking well perhaps has not the relevant expertise or the relevant authority. And if you start reflecting on the circle of incompetence, you stay to your circle of competence. It opens up humility, and it opens also up feedback for where we can strengthen your competence.